patience. Some of the challenges in writing local subjects to an international audience just means having to explain local terms, local names of food for people who have never been to Singapore or who have never heard of the food. There was one time when I was writing about Hainanese Western food that I realized for something that Singaporeans don't even question, I actually needed to explain the concept of Hainanese Western food to foreigners. That it's not just a Singapore style Western food, but that there's also a history behind it. With the Hainanese chefs who used to work in British households and how they came out, opened their coffee shops, and started selling Western food that's adapted to local tastes with local ingredients. When I'm writing about local topics, I realize things that I thought I knew. Actually, sometimes I don't at all. And then by researching more into these local topics, I get to understand and find out more about Singapore. There was one time I wrote a piece on offal in French cuisine. People usually associate French cuisine with beurre bourguignon or good wines, so I thought this would be a good piece to introduce to Singaporeans the less known part of French cuisine. There's a dish called andouillette, which is sausage made of pig's small intestine. To me, the first time when I had it, it reminded me of kway chap. So in my article, I related andouillette with kway chap and how andouillette would probably taste a bit better with kway chap chili. There's also another dish called terrine de cochon de la tête aux pieds by a famous charcuterie in France. To me, when I had that, it reminded me of Teochew pork trotter. I would love to eat it with some Teochew chili garlic with vinegar. So in moments when I least expected, suddenly Singapore hit me everywhere. There was a time I wrote about the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris from my perspective as a Singaporean living in Paris at that time. I've never been so close to violence and terrorism in my life. The place where the attackers left their getaway car was just about 10 minutes from where I lived. And then where the Charlie Hebdo officers were at, that's in a neighborhood that I would go to regularly. I think moments like that, you think about how you've taken safety, security in Singapore for granted. Things that we don't even think about.
Vas-y, accroche-toi sur le côté. Et c'est bon. Maintenant, tu peux descendre si tu veux.
With the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm also starting to explore Singapore more. We've been going to the park connectors and realized that I've never appreciated park connectors this much. It's great to go through Singapore on foot, through residential estates that I would never have a chance to go to or reason to go to, and then stop by for a coffee at a kopitiam.
Tu veux pas en voir un petit peu?
Since coming back home, I've realized that there are these small things in our life that we don't pay enough attention to, like the void decks, where so many important events in our lives take place in. I think common spaces like the void deck help a lot in shaping our Singaporean identity, at least to me. For instance, you have the Malays holding their weddings. There you have Chinese holding funerals and wakes. Then you have children of all ethnicities learning to cycle for the first time, play together. It's a common space where different people come together, whether by chance or not. And it's part of our experience growing up in Singapore. And mix them up until it became a special Singapore culture. What were different peoples on the island became one, and together they made a nation.
Singapore.
Yay! Anywhere you go in mix. I hope that through my writings, people could relate to the experiences I had and start to think more about the Singaporean identity, what it means to be Singaporean, that all these small, mundane experiences, small pieces of insignificant things are actually what makes us Singaporean. This exploration of the Singaporean identity is important to me. It's still a work in progress, but it's important because then if I have a better understanding of my own identity, I'll be able to pass it on to my children so that they could better understand their Singaporean identity.
So being Singaporean to me means being connected to your fondest experiences in a physical space. And for me, that's home, Singapore. It's where I had my first heartbreak, my first successes, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
No matter what our limitations, etc., we'll find a way to make things happen. Despite all the differences and diversity, we come together and we find a way to move forward.
A Singaporean is someone with ties to Singapore, who is proud to represent Singapore, and who, in spite of all the daily gripes, is happy to call Singapore home.
It's nothing that you hold or possess. It is something that is within you. You have seen the country's progress. You have journeyed along the way. You have missed a certain part of the growth, but it doesn't leave you. It's still something that you carry with you within your heart.
This is Singapore Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Dawn Tan. Tonight's top stories. The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine to be rolled out in Singapore from tomorrow. Residents with exceptional circumstances can also appeal to be inoculated early. Checking in using Trace Together will soon be faster with new safe entry gateways. They'll be rolled out at malls and other crowded venues from April the 19th. The labour market turns a corner. Resident employment rises above pre-COVID-19 levels, with the job market rebounding in the second half of 2020. A financial boost to help people with disabilities become more active and to improve their quality of life. A device capable of communicating with plants. The scientists behind it say it could pave the way to asking plants how they feel.
there. I'm Otelia Edwards. Also tonight, the United States and Japan toughen their stand on China. They've warned Beijing against coercion and destabilizing behavior in the region. Plus, countries remain divided on the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The WHO says it is safe, and medical experts are set to discuss the situation.
I'm Elizabeth Neo with your Asia Business Update, exporting Singapore's tech solutions overseas. Plus a new lab to help bring 5G technology solutions to life.
Singapore will roll out the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine at 4 new vaccination centres starting tomorrow. Now, those who are eligible for vaccination can start booking